I give myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to this bill, which is a complete and utter waste of the House of Representatives' time. It asks the National Petroleum Council to do a study, and that's it. That's the entire bill. In my opinion, it asks the National Petroleum Council to do something it can already do on its own. Makes absolutely no sense. The House was out of session for over 50 days because Speaker Johnson refused to bring Congress back to resolve the health care crisis created by Republicans and to reopen the government. And now Speaker Johnson claims we'll be working day and night on important problems. And I certainly agree that we should be doing that. We should be working on problems that Americans care about. But millions of Americans are seeing their health care costs skyrocket because the president and Republicans refuse to extend critical tax credits that make health care more affordable for millions of Americans. Millions more are paying thousands of dollars more a year for everyday goods because of the president's tariffs. These tariffs are a tax on the American people, and they're expected to cost families more than $2,000 each year when they take full effect. And meanwhile, prices on everything, from utilities to food to energy, even prices for Thanksgiving dinner next week are going up. So you'd think that the House Republicans would be doing something, anything at all, to fight these high prices. But instead, we're here talking about a bill that requires a big oil and gas lobby group to put together a report. That's it. I cannot stress that this report is simply not needed, regardless of who does it. In fact, it's almost an insult, particularly to refinery workers on the East Coast, including my state of New Jersey, who don't need a study to tell you why refining capacity here has dropped by over 1/3 in the last decade. It all goes back to the repeal of the crude oil export ban in 2015. You don't have to take my word for it. The Nonpartisan Government Accountability Office found in a 2020 report, that was a report, that domestic refinery margins suffered in the wake of the repeal. But this bill only asks for the report to assess executive actions, regulations, or policies that have impacted refineries, not a change in the law. If it was dealing with a change in the law, I think that would make sense. But it's a massive oversight to not talk about the law and what happened when the crude oil export ban was lifted 10 years ago. That's what caused the problem with refineries. But the most ridiculous part of this bill is that it demands the study not be done by the Department of Energy, but by the National Petroleum Council, an industry advisory body for big oil and gas. I have no doubt that the National Petroleum Council will produce a biased report that will likely complain about every environmental regulation that protects the American people, but that they don't like, because that's what Republicans have been doing, is repealing all the environmental regulations. If Republicans wanted an unbiased view of domestic refining challenges, they would have asked the Department of Energy to craft a report. But that's not what they're looking for, because Republicans just want to sanction fossil fuel propaganda, and that's what they're doing with this bill. It's a waste of everyone's time, Mr. Speaker. It's just another example of how Republicans have absolutely no ideas to help American families to lower everyday costs. We need to be working on real solutions, Democrats and Republicans, to address the affordability crisis. That's what the American people want, not this report. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman